Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Niall. This is a video to discuss Teofimo Lopez and what he does next after last night's victory against Jermaine Ortiz, defending his super lightweight WBO title. Niall, good to be joined by you as always. Feel like you never know what you're going to get with Teofimo Lopez. Obviously, we saw that fantastic victory against Josh Taylor. Last year, we've seen him beat Vasyl Lomachenko in the past, but on the other hand, kind of saw him lose to George Kambosos when we expected him to win, and kind of get dropped by Sandor Martin in a close fight as well. Last night was a close fight. Give me your thoughts on it, please.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. He has to be one of the most frustrating fighters in the world. He's all the talent, all the personality. He proved it against Lomachenko, against Josh Taylor. But when he's expected to win, when he's a big favorite, he just fails to deliver. And again, was no different last night. It was just, yeah, it was a really poor performance. Not to take anything away from Jermaine Ortiz, even before this fight, I knew it would be a tricky fight for Lopez if he wasn't on the ball, and he wasn't. And yeah, I think the scorecards were very, very controversial. I wouldn't have agreed with them too much now, but yeah, just another frustrating night from Teofimo Lopez again, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think just to kind of recap the scorecards, unanimous decision, 115, 113 times two, and 117, 111. I think it's that 117, 111 scorecard that people are particularly unhappy with. I just think one thing to note on the scorecards, I know that the official scorecards in paper got released earlier today, and on all three scorecards, Lopez won all of the three final rounds, which is just kind of says kind of you obviously needed to win those final three rounds, and he didn't on all three scorecards. But yeah, a close fight. Lopez got the decision, and we move on. I feel like with Lopez, on one hand, he is still quite young, but when you've achieved what he's achieved in the sport and beaten who he's beaten, I don't think you're in a position to kind of keep busy fights, take easy fights. So we're here to discuss some big names, really. Niall. First name, Keyshawn Davis. He was having words with Keyshawn Davis last night, who was obviously fighting that night, fighting last night as well. Gave in a career best performance last night to stay undefeated. Maybe not a sort of fight, maybe kind of a month or so ago. Not many people would have not seen it being discussed, but here we are. Is this a fight you want to see? Is this a fight you can see happening next?
Yeah, I think it's a great fight, first of all, but yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of discuss in this video. There's so many potential great fights for Teofimo Lopez here, and Keyshawn Davis now is another name that you can throw into the mix, especially at the press conference during the week. Had a very interesting interaction there, which was great to see. And if it was to happen next, I think I'd have no problem with it happening. I think it's a brilliant fight. Keyshawn Davis, I rate very highly, very highly. Looked at probably a career best performance last night against Pedraza. So if that was to happen next, I'd have no problem. Do I particularly want to see it happen next, as opposed to the other fights that are on the table? Probably not. Maybe it's a bit too early for Keyshawn Davis in his pro career. Or maybe, he still has business at kind of lightweight or 140, the likes of Andy Cruz or one of them could be on the cards for Keyshawn Davis first. So yeah, it's an interesting one that not a lot of people would have thought of before this week, but I'd have no problem with seeing that fight next. If I had to pick a winner, again, it's a tough one, but if Teofimo Lopez is on form, I'd say Teofimo Lopez wins that for me.
It's one of those where if Teofimo Lopez is at his best on his day, he could beat anyone in that division. If he's at his
Yeah.
worst, he could possibly lose to anyone in that division to an extent. So I'm not going to press you too much on like who's going to win this one, who's going to win that one now, because
Yeah.
it's such a tricky thing. It's such a tricky one to answer. Like I'm sure when he faced George Kambosos, most of us would have said he was going to win that fight. He lost. I'm sure when he fought Josh Taylor, most of us thought he was going to lose, and he won. So you just don't know. We'll see. Look, Keyshawn Davis. I think it's one of those for Davis. he'll look at Lopez last night. He was ringside, and he'll maybe fancy that fight more than he would do. It's a chance for him to become a world champion in only his 11th fight as well, which would be very impressive. So we'll see how much of a live option is. And timings wise, it's perfect. So they both just fought. So maybe they could both be looking to fight again in kind of in June, July time. Um, Next name. As things stand, as we are speaking, there seems to be pretty strong rumors that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia could be facing each other on April the 20th, which should be one of the biggest fights of the year. Obviously a fight that's been spoken about for a long time now. Would be for Devin Haney's WBC world title as well. Obviously, if whoever wins that fight, Teofimo Lopez is going to be one of the names mentioned. So yeah, your thoughts on the chances of Teofimo Lopez facing the winner of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia later in 2024, Niall?
I'll just say it now. That's the dream for me. It's Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney. That's a super fight. Probably my most wanted super fight in boxing, to be honest. Two quality operators, and of course, Haney does have to get past Ryan Garcia first, which is no easy feat in itself. But I expect him to come through that pretty comfortably in the end. And then I don't see why it couldn't happen after that. You know, they both not only quality fighters, but they both looking to fight the best, which is very rare in the sport these days. But they're both chasing kind of legacy. You know, they both fought Lomachenko, Haney fighting Pro Gray, even defending against a tough fighter in Jermaine Ortiz. So yeah, Haney, I think come through Garcia, and I would love to see that fight if they're both at their best. It's just incredible, you know, and it's hard to pick a winner, but it's up there for me as one of the most anticipated super fights in boxing.
Yeah, it's would be massive. Look, I'm not sure I see it happening myself, just because you don't want to get too carried away as boxing fans. Is Devin Haney really going to fight Ryan Garcia? If he wins that fight, then fight Teofimo Lopez? I'm not so sure, but it would be fantastic to see it. And there's so much talent at the 135 and 140 divisions, and there's been so much talent, but there's not been kind of the super fights to go with that talent in the last 3 or 4 years. We obviously had Gervonta Davis against Ryan Garcia last year, but we've got kind of likes of Shakur Stevenson in that 135 mix as well. And obviously Teofimo Lopez as well, but we've not seen the amount of super fights that we could have seen, if that makes sense. So fingers crossed. Should be could be a fantastic year for that weight division. Two more names to go. Sabriel Matias, obviously a world champion at that weight. One of the pound for pound biggest punchers in in the sport. Got a kind of fairly similar record to Artur Beterbiev, which is kind of all you need to know. Teofimo Lopez isn't going to fight this guy, is he? No, there's easier fights out there. What do you think?
There's definitely easier fights out there, 100%. I think Matias is probably one of the most underrated fighters in the world at the minute for a world champion. You know, as you mentioned, huge puncher, quality fighter. You know, I think he gets lost in the shuffle of 135 and 140. There being so many star names there, but I think Matthias is a problem for anybody. And you know what? I actually think he could. I can see that fight happening next for some reason. I won't like I can't nail down a particular reason, but if it's not a super fight with the Haney Garcia winner or someone else like that, I can definitely see Teofimo Lopez unifying against Subriel Matias. You know, I think he's had a bit of well, he has a lot to say about everybody, but he made a few comments about Matthias as well. So I can see that one kind of coming to fruition. And I'd love to see it. As I mentioned, Matthias highly underrated, and the power is going to be a problem for absolutely anybody. Can Lopez take that big shot? Very curious to see, but yeah, I think that if I had to nail down the fight to happen next, I'm going to say Teofimo Lopez fights Subriel Matthias.
Interesting. Okay, well we disagree. I don't know. We'll see. I think Matias. I think there are maybe bigger fights out there for Lopez, and Matias is in that position maybe when he is a world champion, a very good fighter. But I'm not sure he's going to convince people to fight him. But we'll see. we'll see what happens. It'll be a fantastic fight. Be a fantastic fight if that does happen. Final name, Niall. Gonna add some British interest in here. Someone else who not many people want to fight, Jack Catterall. Should really still be undefeated. Had that fight last time out against Jorge Linares. There have been rumors for quite a long time now about this Josh Taylor rematch. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of just getting a bit tired of the back and forth on Twitter. And is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Yeah, but yeah, Jack Catterall kind of wants that big fight, wants to fight for a world title again. Your thoughts on that being a possibility for Teofimo Lopez?
Catterall, I think Jack Catterall is the one that people will want to see get his opportunity. Again, I think he's well overdue after the Taylor controversy. He well deserves another shot at the big time. And again, quite an underrated fighter. He's really, really awkward and tricky. And I thought he looked really good last time out against Linares. He got kind of criticized that he couldn't get the stoppage, but he spun Linares on his head, really hardly lost a round and was comfortable in it. And to do that to an elite fighter like Linares, although past his best, was commendable. So yeah, I'd love on a personal note to see Jack Catterall get his opportunity, especially before passing by. He hasn't been the most active since the Josh Taylor fight, and he's not getting any younger either. So yeah, I'd love to see Jack Catterall fight Teofimo Lopez next. Do I think it'll happen? No, I don't, because I do think the Josh Taylor rematch is gonna happen. Next. I'm like yourself, it's getting a bit tiresome with the back and forth, but I
Mm,
think that's where they're heading with it is Catterall Taylor too. But if that wasn't to happen, I'd love to see Jack Catterall finally get his opportunity. And again, an awkward night's work for anybody. He's
yeah,
so awkward to fight.
yeah. I think one thing on the Jack Catterall fight, I think that I'm not saying it would be seen as an easy option for Lopez, but I think it could be looked at and think, yeah, Jack Catterall, he kind of fought to Josh Taylor, wasn't that motivated. Lopez will get credit for that fight. That fight is still a big fight. It's a fight that can be made. Perhaps that fight can be made easier than a Devin Haney fight, possibly. Um, so yeah, look, it should be a legitimate option. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Look, there's plenty of options out there. I'm sure there's other names we could throw into the mixture as well. Niall, good to speak to you. Final question. Out of the out of the fights we've mentioned, Keyshawn Davis, winner of Haney Garcia, Matias, and Jack Catterall. Not the fight you not the fight you want to see. What is the fight you think we will see next for Teofimo Lopez? What do you think is most likely?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Subriel Matias. I think he unifies with the IBF with Matias next. I have a feeling, and yeah, I'm all for that one. To be honest, I'd love to see it.
Fantastic. We will see. Niall, good to speak to you as always. Thank you for your time, and I will speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Take care.